Hey everyone, what should you expect when you file an emergency motion? That's what we're going to talk about right now. My name is Robert Buchanan. JointCustodyAdvocates.com is the website. So, an emergency motion is a powerful tool in court. It basically, it bypasses the normal waiting periods that you have with a regular motion. When you file a regular motion, the first court date's called presentment. The judge technically can't order anything that day, and at best your case will be set for hearing in a couple weeks, few weeks, or maybe even a couple months. That's a best case scenario. Many times a regular motion will be continued for status and you won't have a hearing on it for maybe 3, 4, even 6 months. So an emergency motion means you're going in right away. You're saying, Judge, X, Y, and Z has happened, so we need to get an immediate order to remedy this situation. So as far as kind of the nuts and bolts procedure of an emergency motion, what's going to happen is that you need to deliver that emergency motion at the time required in the court's standing order. Most judges have what's called a standing order, which is an order that outlines kind of the basic procedures of their courtroom. If you're representing yourself, it's a very important thing to get comfortable with or to read and know. If you have an attorney, obviously they'll be looking at that and they'll see what the court requires for emergency motions. Most judges say, okay, you got to deliver this motion by 9 a.m. If you don't deliver it by 9 a.m., it's not going to be heard. So you're going to get there early. You're going to get your motion delivered to the clerk. The clerk's going to deliver it to the judge. The judge is going to read it. And then they're going to call your case. They might call your case at the beginning of the court call. They might call it at the end. So be prepared to be there all morning. Certainly, it's very, very common that if you file an emergency motion that by the time things are all wrapped up, it could even be as late as 12:30 or 1 o'clock, depending on the substance of that motion. So once your case is called, you're going to step up to the judge and you're going to introduce yourself to the judge. At that point, if it's your motion and if you have an attorney or you don't, the judge is going to give you an opportunity to present, basically to summarize the motion, summarize why you think it's an emergency and what you're asking for. Depending on the nature of the motion, the judge will take the reins and may start asking you questions. The judge might ask your attorney to swear you in. You will be sworn in by the clerk, and the judge might have the attorney ask you questions. If you don't have an attorney, you'll be sworn in and you'll just be giving testimony as far as what's going on. If both parties have attorneys, it's possible that the judge says, let's have a chambers conference on this, and the attorneys will go back into the judge's chambers and will talk about the motion. And some motions are factual disputes. Some are more legal issues as far as, okay, assuming this is true, what is the right remedy? What is the right thing to order here? There's a lot of different tools that the judge can use or resources the judge has. Commonly, it depends on what courthouse you're at, but for example, downtown Chicago has something called emergency intervention, and if children are involved and it's something that needs immediate assistance from social workers, the judge can order the parties and the children to come back the next day and go to emergency intervention. So you should expect that things can go a lot of different directions. Expect that the motion may be granted and may not be granted. Even if it's not granted, it could accelerate things quicker than filing an emergency motion would have, or a regular motion would have done. As far as being prepared, just be well rested. Do whatever you need to do to alleviate any sort of stress or anxiety that you have. That's not going to be possible in general. I mean, you can't expect yourself not to be nervous because court is a nerve-wracking thing, and this judge is going to make some determinations that are really going to affect your life, affect the lives of the children. But just be well rested and focused and ready to go. And be honest and sincere and polite, and that way you can make the best impression with the judge, maintain as much credibility as possible, and that's about it. I mean, as an attorney, when I go in on emergency motions, I don't know what to expect. Sometimes I'm nervous because I'm like, wow, this is a huge deal. We better make sure we have all our ducks in a row. The judge is really going to pick this apart because of what we're asking. And so there's a certain level of anxiety that I get as an attorney. So it's only natural that you would get that sort of anxiety as well, or be stressed out. I think it's a sign, that sort of stress is the sign that this is a big deal, which it is. So just make sure that you're well rested and ready to go, and that's all you can really control. So if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below or wherever else you see this on social media. I'd be happy to have a conversation, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.